Oh, yeah, oh, yeah. They looking for a film that has big time camp. What B-movie will be the ultimate champ? You might think they crazy, might think they disease, but they watch all the shot to find the best of the beast. It's Stan, Jim, Jack, and Nick who watch till it's finished. But their love for these movies can be diminished. And maybe the film's plot has no rhyme or reason, but that's part of the jam. Owen Brad of the season. It's the low budget film that it is most true. They find in the flick that's most boogaloo. Kung Fu, electric boogaloo. Ooh, ooh, electric boogaloo. Kung Fu, electric boogaloo. Ooh, ooh, electric boogaloo.
Gentlemen, start your engines, because it's time to talk about the Kung Fu Electric Boogaloo, because I got some killing to do. Oh yes, it is Kung Fu Electric Boogaloo back again, Season 8, simply the best. Loving it because we're talking Deadly Prey, and he's got some killing to do. He is, just so good stuff. I am your host, 8th Dan Stanadu, and I am joined, as usual, by my good friends, and I got Jim Kata.
Stan, I'm here for the fun.
You're here for the fun. All right, well, let's see now. Let's see. Jack, are you here for the money?
Unfortunately, yes.
All right, and of course, Nick. What are you here for, Nick?
It was for the sex, but that intro took my boner away.
Well, I don't... not sure what you were getting.
Really,
it's
all downhill for here.
Actually, nothing takes my boner away. I just want to say.
Well,
right.
As I said, we are talking about Deadly Prey from David A. Pryor, and Nick, tell us about Deadly Prey.
All right, Deadly Prey. Now, Colonel Hogan, not to be associated with Colonel Hogan's in any way, such form, has a brilliant idea in this movie to train a mercenary army of the ultimate soldiers by hunting basically anybody, and they just kidnap people and shuffle them off into the forest and hunt them for sport. And of course, this creates the ultimate soldier. However, one day they kidnap the wrong man, Mike Danton, a former officer under Colonel Hogan, and all hell breaks loose because he kills everybody. And he does it without the benefit of clothing at all. Amazing movie.
It's Mike Danton, but
Danton.
But did I not say Mike Danton?
You said Dalton, but that's okay.
It's all right.
See,
honestly, I didn't
remember
his name either.
I remember. That's Roadhouse, dude.
That's
Yeah,
true.
Same haircut, though.
It is much easier to remember Hogan.
Yeah.
It's so great because one of the first things that you notice about this movie is that it's super duper 80s. Because everybody's got that like mullety style hair. So
that's the first thing that really like jumped out at me is that, so as Nick said, they set up this thing where he trains his soldiers by kidnapping people, and then like 8 of them hunt an unarmed random guy through the woods. I haven't the foggiest idea how that's supposed to train you to fight another soldier.
no.
Because I mean, it's like 8 guys with fully automatic weapons hunting like an accountant.
So,
in the opening scene of this,
some fat guy
other than like getting you in the habit of killing people, there's nothing about this that
he was a bit challenging there when they were hunting the opening of the Brooklyn Brawler there. I thought that was interesting. And then And I do think we need to go back to the whole mullet to actor ratio.
Well, that's where I wanted to go. Is that so they have to go pick up a new guy, and Colonel Hogan says, "Make sure he's a mean one." And then immediately they cut to a guy with the prettiest hair I've ever seen, wearing Daisy Duke jean shorts. That's the mean guy that they pulled off the street. Like that guy, he looks like a tough guy. Go put up a fight. The guy in the Daisy Dukes.
It was the 80s, a different time. Your modern sensibilities may be coloring your judgment on this one. That's what tough guys looked like.
Tough guy. Oh, and he is tough.
Yeah.
The mean one.
I got confused though because like the problem is that the accountant from earlier, the Brooklyn Brawler, as you say there, he used a rock and he knocked a guy out and managed to run away for a while. And I mean, the editing around this point is miraculous because they're both in a group and then they're separate, and then they're beside him, but then he's 50 yards away. Like it's amazing how far he manages to go when he has no right to get like any more than 2 feet away from them. But so he manages to knock.
It doesn't hurt that the grenades that they throw that land on him only knock him down.
Well,
like the grenades in this movie are highly inconsistent. They're ready to completely obliterate you.
Yes.
If they're set in the proper place, or just knock you down and slow you down for a moment.
Yeah, the grenades are awesome. I didn't know
that. How about half of them are flashbangs or something?
Yeah.
Like they're you just throwing M80s at them.
But so then when they get back to camp and Colonel Hogan's like, "How did it go?" "Oh well, he took out one of our guys," and Colonel Hogan's like, "Oh damn, I'm never gonna get this unit into shape," and then he seems really pissed, and it's just like, well. You think that he actually wants somebody easier, and then he's like, "Oh, find a mean one." It's just like, really? Your guy couldn't take
iron sharpens iron there, Stan.
Iron sharpens iron. Yeah.
Let's keep in mind, I think, and that's the problem with this movie and with this podcast. We don't want to go more than an hour, but I can spend an hour on the guy at the beginning. We talk about he was taken out. The guy who's the soldier, the advantage of having a gun is that you don't have to stand right in front of somebody. He comes up, he's like holding it he's got the gun on his chest, pushing it into it so that he's close enough he can be hit by a rock. I don't know, you have a gun, you might be able to stand, I don't know, not within striking distance for the other guy. But that's everything in this movie.
I love at one point. So the guy, the hunted guy, knocks the guy out with a rock, and takes nothing from the guy. There's an automatic weapon. There's knives. There's grenades, presumably, because it seems everyone in this movie has a handful of grenades on them at any time.
Didn't the rest of this movie establish you're not allowed to loot anyone you?
yeah, totally. Other than a knife, you are allowed to take a knife.
They put him into the woods naked, and he doesn't even steal shoes from like the 30 guys he kills.
Yeah, some scenes he has shoes for no reason, but I suppose they're magic shoes that appear when he wants them to wear. Because sometimes he has shoes, sometimes he doesn't. But yeah, I mean, you see him taking weapons, and the next time you see him, he doesn't have any. And then he has, and then he has grenades to launch into a grenade launcher when he didn't have any earlier, and there's no point to establish that he took them. Like, this movie's so awesome.
I love that he fires 3 or 4, what are those called? Like an over/under on a machine gun that he fires these rocket grenades, and he's still just wearing jean shorts and no shirt. I think he uses 3 grenades and 2 or 3 grenades and I think at least 3 of those things.
I thought that was when after he had gone back home and raided his stash and then put in his Rambo.
No, he has.
No, that was before.
It was before.
Yeah,
wow. It's before he. Yeah. Well, I couldn't figure out I want to go a bit bigger. I couldn't figure out where the hell everything was in this movie.
Wait! You want to go a bit bigger? I want to go a bit smaller.
75 miles outside of LA. Come on, that's what it was.
Which he at one point hikes. I guess.
Yes. Yes, he basically hikes back home.
2/3 of the movie, everyone in the entirely. So they've got this gigantic training ground that looks like a parking lot for movie vehicles because there's like one of everything. There's only about 60 soldiers, but they've got like an APC and a tank and a.
You have the trees, and then in the background, clearly visible, is the city skyline. So.
And everyone seems to be about 5 minutes walk from the camp at any given time.
Oh God, yeah.
Some points in this movie where what's his name there? Can we just refer to him as Stupid Rambo? Can we call him that?
He's awesome. He's a killer, man.
Where he's underwater, and then he's under leaves, like attacking people, and stuff that would take a long time to set up, and he just. I think the underwater one might be my favorite because the guy is like we can see him on camera underwater. A guy is a half foot from him. I can't see him. But coincidentally, the guy decided to drink some water right from where he is.
Yeah, I marked that down about all the traps and stuff. I wrote down, when the fuck did he dig this hole? Because at one point he hides himself under some leaves, in like a 3 foot deep hole that he's covered with leaves, like just in time for the guys to come by.
How long do you think they were hunting him? I have trouble with time in this movie.
So do they.
Because judging by the feel, I mean, he skipped breakfast and he's eating worms by 10.
Eating real worms for the role, by the way.
Which was one of my absolute favorite moments. The fact that he's spitting on his hand, cleaning off the worm.
Let me explain to you how my night went last night. I watched it late at night. I didn't start this until like 11 at night last night. And then I watched this and the next movie we were doing. And let me tell you something. Somewhere around midnight, I was literally laughing out loud at the screen, looking into myself and going, he's still in his fucking Daisy Jones. Oh, fucking movie. And fucking Daisy shoes. And no fucking shoes. And no fucking shirt. And now we're in. He's still gone. No fucking shoes. His fucking dad's got no shirt on. For no fucking reason. I was laughing so hard. I was literally out loud saying that. I'm surprised I didn't wake the neighbors.
Well, and here's the thing. I think that he killed his stunt double like 16 times because there's a guy who had the exact same hair and like the exact same build or at least like overall size that he killed. And I'm like, dude, you so easily could have just taken his shirt at least, like, well, maybe not his shirt, his pants.
I really get the sense that no one in this movie is a very good fighter. Like,
well, it's certainly none of their combat troops.
Well, because over and over in this film, characters turn around and their opponent is like 6 feet away from them.
Nobody in this, I presumed everybody in this movie was deaf and
nearsighted.
No vision whatsoever. Because you can see a guy coming up from the side from somebody making all the noise in the world, and all of a sudden they'll turn and be like, "Oh my god!" Oh, I can't tell you how many moments of this I loved. Like I can't even explain how many moments I loved. Oh.
I love so.
This guy who we're talking about, nobody can fight. This guy who can kick the shit out of anybody is just going to murder everybody. And the one fair fight he has, one-on-one,
gets his ass handed to him. It's not even close, right? And that's the thing, right? There's these moments where it's just again, if he can come up from behind you, he's great. But yeah, that moment where he fought the Lieutenant Thornton, who was so. Man, they made full use out of that guy's mirrored sunglasses. That was money for David Pryor because he's like, oh, I'm a badass. I'm a fucking that was the thing about this movie for me. The hero was a badass. The villains were all badass, trying to all be badasses. Like everybody was just like desperate to be a badass. And then you add Cameron Mitchell.
Oh, Cameron Mitchell. Oh my god.
Did they add Cameron Mitchell?
What a story arc for that character.
Oh, wasn't it just?
He's the second credited actor, right?
First,
second
actually.
or third credited actor. And,
Remember,
and
like
what's
he
his
comes up
character name?
first. Well, his character name is Jamie's father.
Yeah. Yeah. So really, he's really filled out.
Yep. Yeah. I love it because he show so I mean, of course, you got Mike Danton who's been kidnapped, and so Jaimy, who is his wife, calls her dad an ex cop because she knows that something's gone wrong. So he goes out. He kind of figures it out really well. Drives out to near where they're going to be. Comes out, exits the car with the shotgun. Makes a big, I'm gonna use this shotgun, and then he makes it to the camp where he's walking around in his fucking Hawaiian shirt or whatever with no shotgun, and then
But what happens when he gets out of that car? Does he make it to the camp and then go back to his car?
Yeah,
he makes it to the camp. He goes back to his car so he can murder the guy who's the money man behind the operation. He murders him, by the way, by pointing the gun directly at the high part of his chest, shooting him, and then the guy who's shot immediately grabs the bottom part of his stomach.
Yeah.
and goes,
Cameron Mitchell gives this like brilliant Shakespearean speech.
Oh as he is so good at that. Those like Cameron Mitchell. That is where he made his money, just on making these like completely amazing speeches. Because I was totally shocked, right? So I mean Colonel Hogan grabs Jaimy, rapes her, and then to bring Danton in, and it's just like
that's made pretty clear because when Cameron Mitchell comes in, her first line is, "He raped me, Daddy."
Yep. And Cameron Mitchell gets angry, and then Colonel Hogan shoots him, and bam, it's over. And I'm like, wow, your first credited person not only is just called Jamie's father.
He, considering that nobody calls the police or anything.
Nope.
and considering that this is some secret operation, he sure had no trouble finding them. He knew exactly where to park, exactly where to walk to. Took him no time to get there. He hides around and takes out Cameron Mitchell, looking like 185 years old. Walks around the compound, takes people out, spies on things, and then has a chance to rescue his son-in-law. Instead, just walks back and then pretends to be dead until this guy shows up. Hopefully, he was like the same role.
Yeah. Who knows how long he took to have to play dead.
Speaking of filled out, let's talk about Jaimy. I'm pretty sure that it went like this. I'm pretty sure this character would have been a bitch to cast, because I'm pretty sure it went like this. David Pryor's like, well, I'm casting my brother Ted in the lead role, and he's a moron. But we want him to not seem like a moron, so we have to find somebody who's legitimately actually even dumber than him. And that must have been difficult to find. But they found her. Like, I mean, the character, like, you just get there's like, this is one vapid human being.
One of the things that I absolutely love, and it happens to absolutely everybody in this, but certainly to Mike Danton, is he gets snuck up on a lot in this movie. Like, yep. for the ultimate fighter,
right?
Like, it's just constant. Everybody, you're like, yeah, I'm just leaving my back wide open, no problem.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't worry about it. There's a point where he gets shot and nothing happens.
Yeah, yes.
Like a guy just opens up on him, like, again, 6 feet away from him, and he kind of moves back and forth, but there's no squibs because he's not wearing a shirt.
Yeah.
And there's no injury. Like, he doesn't even have to put a Band-Aid on.
Well, when he finally kills the lieutenant is pointing a gun at him from 5 feet away, and he's closing ground. And apparently the guy's missing shooting him. Oh my God, this movie's the best thing ever.
I have one little bit I want to mention before I think we're probably close to scoring. I love that throughout the film, and I'm gonna say film instead of movie. I think it should be recognize eyebrows.
Film.
Colonel Hogan has he has an office desk in a tent. It's like got drawers and everything. It's metal, like a big metal desk with like drawers that he's whatever kind of paperwork you have to do when you're running a paramilitary organization in 75 miles outside of LA. And he has just like a half dozen loose grenades on the desk at all times, including when Cameron Mitchell gets all mad and takes a lunge for him. Like Cameron Mitchell, unfortunately, goes for a punch instead of the handful of grenades that are right in front of him.
I can't believe you want to go to scoring. I have so much more to say. I don't even. Let's talk about the opening there when you first time you meet Colonel Hogan. And we talk about the mercenaries and the one mercenary, he's like, why are you here? For the money. And then another one, why are you here? For the money. And another one, why are you here? For the fun. So you assume that character would show up again because
he did. Different. He's the guy who helped Danton.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Yeah, the one that was almost impossible to tell whether he was Danton or not. I got really confused, especially in his death scene.
I like the casual dress that this paramilitary group has. Like, there's one woman and she's got a midriff top and camo shorts.
Yeah,
as a good look.
That's the thing. Right after he hires them, he says, "Go get them uniforms." And if I'm those guys looking at her, I'm scared to death because I don't want to be wearing cutoff shorts and a midriff tank top, the uniform. So let me tell you something. I actually looked this up. So because he says that, the definition, according to Webster's, of uniform is consistent in conduct or opinion, or the same form with others, having the same form, manner, or degree, not varying or variable. I bring this up because he apparently got them uniforms, and yet nobody in this thing is wearing anything that looks anything like each other, except for that your outfit is green.
That's because he has 300 fucking men. Oh, like, there's so many guys because he's got tanks and he's got helicopters or whatever. Like, he's got everything there. I mean, it's a museum, so of course it's understandable that all that stuff is there. But he can only use a few of them. Obviously, I mean, the tank doesn't actually move. It just
the official death count is 64, though. We're not 100% because when he killed people with the grenade in the tank, we don't know how many people were in the tank. So it could be more than 60.
My favorite is the one where he shoves the grenade in the guy's pants.
Oh yes,
and then all that's left is a smoking boot. He literally blew him out of his boots.
Yes.
Oh, I love it.
Just the fact that he stuck it in his pants and it just.
Yeah.
Apparently, he must have stuck it in his actual underwear as well, because otherwise it just would have gone right down and blown the boot off. But
that'll teach you to leave loose grenades laying around.
Yeah,
like that should be a lesson. That's a safety moment right there.
But yeah, I mean, ultimately just the entire concept that you could go and of all the people that you are going to kidnap, that you managed to kidnap the one guy that was trained by your colonel. And is the ultimate fighting machine. So good. So good.
So I looked it up. In 1987, Los Angeles had 8.665 million people in it. Luckily, they picked the one guy who was trained by the colonel.
Yes. Who just happens to have a really pretty mullet and big muscles.
Oh, it is. I mean, I love the lead character, that Super Rambo. His schlong was incredible. That's what they called, right? It's short in the front, long in the back.
Yeah,
I love schlong. I've never heard that term before.
Oh yeah,
that's the right schlong. It's the schlong. I mean, yes, okay, he was a former Chippendale dancer and a centerfold playmate, or playboy playgirl.
Well, he was jacked. I mean,
oh yeah.
I'm not faulting the physical casting of this movie.
Are you kidding?
Well, no. I mean, you get him a sensible haircut, and he physically fits the role.
Well, again, he is the director's brother, so
he is a hacktor. Yes.
I love, like, they lean into the Rambo thing because he's he and one of the guys had been in Vietnam together. That's where they got this amazing training and made them these killing machines. I did the math. Mike would have been at the oldest 16 years old in Vietnam. and that's kind of charitable. He's probably 12 at the peak of the war.
He learned a lot fast.
Yeah, I guess you got to train him early. That's the
maybe that's what Colonel Hogan's problem is now, is that he's trying to train them all too late. So they're all fucking idiots.
To get away.
Had they never seen Hogan's Heroes, I swear to God, every single time you guys say Colonel Hogan, I want one of you, another one of you, to go Hogan.
It is kind of amazing they made that oversight that, everybody, when this movie came out, everyone would have thought Hogan's Heroes every time they say Colonel Hogan.
Oh, yeah. How could you not? Oh, my God. Okay, now let's get to scoring, because we're still going to need another hour and a half.
The WTFs are an hour and a half.
Right.
The end fight in the WTFs are an hour and a half.
The actual ending.
Oh, yes. So magical.
All
so
right.
Magical.
In our search for the ultimate
opening magical.
we rate each film in 5 categories, none of which are objective quality. The first category we have is called Schlock Upheal, and we start with Stan.
When this movie ended, besides the fact that I had a giant smile on my face, there was a couple of things, but the second that this movie ended, I actually stood up in front of the TV and started clapping. Because I was so happy with this movie. Because it's just everything that you look for in this kind of thing. One of the things that I absolutely adore, like we talk about the fact that sometimes you can create a world, and within that world things make sense. Well, they actually managed to create a world and still nothing makes sense within that world.
Nothing.
And that's what the greatest thing about this movie is. Like, when it comes to schlock, like, the acting's bad, the writing's bad, but everybody is just so damn earnest. I mean, Colonel Hogan is just, like, constantly, like, rah! It's Sturm und Drang, and it's just like...
Colonel Hogan, Troy Donahue, was that the most dramatic drinking of a beer bottle that you guys have ever seen?
Ever. And it's like, I love the fact that they're out. Like, they've obviously gotten away from camp, and they're like, oh, we're going to set up camp here. Well, you brought beer? But, and I mean, that's a what the fuck, I'm sure. But yeah, like, so everybody's really earnest, and they're not good at their jobs. Like, David A. Pryor's not good at directing. But damn, they went for it in every way, shape, and form, even down to the score, which makes no fucking sense with the rest of the damn movie. So it just goes all the way. So for me, this one's a 10.
Yeah, when Jean-Claude Van Damme films a very similar movie called Hard Target to this movie, and after watching this movie, you start to think, was that a documentary that Van Damme starred in? The schlock appeal is high. I mean, I've seen Ice-T perform in this kind of movie, and this one still out-schlocks it. So yeah, it's up there, 9.
Did I mention I was laughing?
Oh, yeah.
Laughing out loud watching this. And I couldn't stop for pretty much from almost the beginning. Like, it's a 10. This movie is it is 100% incredibly enjoyable because it's so wonderfully awful.
So the taglines for this film are in Vietnam he was the best. Ellipsis. He still is. and the war game that became reality. This is absolute 10 for me. I mean, this is they're hunting the most the deadliest game. Like, it's just, I mean, it's cliche, but it's perfection at the same time.
Well, yeah, and to go from like accountant to its extreme ultimate killer, Mike Danton, great stuff.
Who happens to have been a Vietnam buddy with the leader of the group.
And another guy.
Presumably from a school trip. Like I'm guessing a school trip to Vietnam rather than a war. But the next category is called more heart than budget.
Yeah.
Well, wait a minute. He was an actual accountant? I thought he was just making fun of him in that.
Who knows?
Who knows?
I'm pretty sure he wrestled for the WWE. Brooklyn Brawler, I still say.
That would have actually made him maybe tougher than he was. Probably not, but
not really.
So
much like him.
Well, this is as far as the heart goes, to me, it's all heart. And the fact that they managed to have more grenades than anybody should have a right to have, they do random things, which is awesome. But they have tanks. They actually, they have all this stuff. It's used somewhat, but and then
not correctly.
Not correctly, no. And then they have the
one
jungle.
Point, the tank is firing things. I don't know if you guys know, but tanks take a little while to reload. It's just firing off.
It's one of those fully automatic tanks.
Yeah. Well, which is amazing because none of the other weapons are fully automatic. So, but yeah, like it and Cameron Mitchell. So I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go 9.
I see where you're going with this, but this is a scale of heart to budget, and I have a hard time believing any movie, even with a star related to the director, that casts a former Chippendales dancer. Let's face it, he didn't strip that day. He was off the job maybe an hour. I can't give full marks for Heart. It's still up there because it's an extremely earnest movie. 7.
I think you're dead on there, Nick. Like a 7 is what I give it as well. There's an earnestness to it, a legitimate effort, and yet on the other hand, you can't deny the fact that it's like ripping off Deadliest Game and Rambo and just trying to using nepotism and all this stuff. So it's like this, considering what it is, yes, it's got a certain amount of heart, but I put it at the highest end. So 7 is a fair score for me.
I'm going the opposite direction. I think that the nepotism is what makes it awesome. I think that he's putting this movie together and he's like, this is my chance. This is my brother's chance. This is the one that's going to make Teddy a star. It's got all uphill for.
Well, this isn't the first film they've done together.
No, they had done. They'd done like several things together, hadn't they? Over the course of a couple of years.
Yeah, exactly.
And I want to see them all.
They filmed this back to back with something else. So
yeah, I think there's a movie that actually was filmed with the same sets and stuff.
Yeah, I'm sure it was. I could not find the budget for this thing, but I'm guessing about $1.25.
So I'm going. I think this is all hard. I'm going all the way up to 10.
Nice work.
All right. Forward your mail. Charge your phones. What the fuck moments, Stan?
Do we really want to erect the ending with the WTFs? Some people may not have seen this film.
Well, they should. They should.
I don't think it wrecks this. I don't think it.
Like, this movie gives you a what the fuck within the first 5 seconds, which is one of the most important elements of a good high score. When it's just like, the silhouette of him against the just on the top of the cliff or the hill or whatever, and it's just like dun dun dun, and then he lifts his arms up and gives you the big pose, and it's just like deadly prey.
You can't even the dun 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 that they kept doing every time he did something.
Oh man. But when the second that you see that,
and the pose with the knees bent, arms wide, palms up.
Yeah.
Like primal scream. I don't know that he did that like 4 million times.
And was that supposed to be like after everything, or was that before everything? You know, like it's great because it just sets you right up for what the movie's going to be, and then you're immediately into the action. But yeah, like for me, I just had like the spitting on the worm to clean it before he eats it because that was fantastic. There's a point where he goes like so Hogan and the group they've taken a lot of hits. And so Hogan has just finished drinking his beer. He sent his woman off to get him another beer. And Danton comes up behind him and he's just like, "You should stop or I'm going to have to kill you." And then at that point he's just like, he disappears, and of course Hogan yells and like, gotta get everybody going. And then cut to Danton asleep on the ground, in the wide open, and these two fucking hillbillies are wake him up with shotguns on him. "You better get out of here, boy."
You better get out of here, boy. I'd like to know who 75 miles outside of Los Angeles has that accent.
And
As hillbillies. Like,
and then it just pops up out of nowhere. He's like, "Oh, sorry about that, guys." And then he starts running away. Because, of course, as Nick said, he's never bothered to steal anything more than a knife during the entire time that he's going.
Unless, except for those scenes where he needed something else, then he has.
But he always tosses it away.
I will say, Hillbilly Will has actually an extensive IMDb credit for such a small role.
Oh my God, I can't even. Oh my God.
So that's
what do you give it?
Well, I haven't. I'm not done yet.
Oh yeah, of course you're not. I'm sorry. We sent forward your mail.
I'm trying.
Yeah. Let them know you'll be late to work.
Yeah, I'm trying to leave still a bunch of a bunch for other people. There's, of course, there's the grenade down the pants. So that was amazing. There was a couple of points where they actually had no natural sound going on like there's this point where Colonel Hogan comes up to his desk and he drops an M16 on it and it makes no sound, and then he moves his chair and that makes no sound whatsoever, and it was just so odd that and it happened 2 or 3 other times in the movie where it's just like nothing is making a noise other than the fact that you have a score and then you have them talking. And then, right near the end, there's this magical moment where Mike Danton is moving his lips, and other words are coming out of his mouth.
It happened also in the scene where the beer drinking scene as well.
Where it's just like, I wonder what he actually had to say at that point. I noted that Cameron Mitchell's death face was absolutely fucking brilliant. It was just like, oh, total surprise. And then he looks and he stares and they hold and then poof, falls down dead on the desk. He's a magical actor, that man. But and then the last thing that I really noted was when Danton went to his home and opened up his locker, which looked like it could have, like a 12-year-old could have picked the lock on that locker. This was, not an impressive locker. But he's like, it's his weapons cache. He's got all the stuff in there. So he's got lots of, M16s and stuff like that. But the 2 things that I really noted was the ratty old machete, which he put to brilliant use, I might add. And the shiny stick or shiny thing of dynamite, nice red dynamite, which he never used once.
Just like loose dynamite at the bottom of that cabinet. That was awesome.
Yeah. But he took it with him. But the absolute best was, of course, when he took that machete, hacked off Lieutenant Thornton's arm with it, and then proceeded to beat Lieutenant Thornton to death with his own arm.
Without so much as a spurt of blood.
Not one drop of blood.
That
For
was
this
the moment I stood and cheered.
Yes.
That was my
That
yeah. That was
so
I almost cried.
so for me, like that right there is the ultimate sell of this movie, and it's a 10.
Yeah. There's so much. There's so much in this movie. The eating of the rats, the weird time period stuff, the hillbillies. You know, I can understand them wanting to chase off vagrants and stuff, but I find a naked man in my cornfield eating rats. I'm probably going to ask some questions before. You know, I'm not going to take the gun off him, but I'm going to ask, like, what the hell's going on here before chasing him off?
If there's corn there, why is he eating rats and worms?
I have no. Maybe it wasn't corn. I don't know.
I don't know. Did they own
Maybe
this
it wasn't ripe.
Yeah, I mean it's. I mean, you can't. Can you cook corn over an open fire? That would be ridiculous.
Both of them, of course, have an open fire, which is absolutely ridiculous in this case. But
yeah, that's another thing. He has a couple fires in this movie that you have to wonder, like, you know, these ultimate soldiers in training can't see smoke.
Nope.
No, but then keep in mind he's eating rats and worms after he was at their compound, where presumably they would have had food he could steal.
Yeah.
He was not about stealing. Come on.
He wasn't really about hiding either.
No. Unless it's under leaves or the water.
Oh, yeah. No. I mean, he sets traps where, you know, you could legitimately, if it was possible to create that trap, you could catch somebody with. But, you know, when the guy's 3 feet from you and you're, like, making quick moves and sneaking up on people, these guys hide behind, like, twigs.
Oh, my God, yes.
At all times, Mike Danton is visible. I mean, this is not a thickly dense forest. This is not Rambo. This is flat, like, we're filming this in a public park where people picnic type forest. So, yeah, no, the WTF is strong. And then you take it to the next level with that ending. I mean, I must watch that final battle with the second in charge about 30 times, just wondering, like, am I just spoiled by all the kung fu movies I watch and stuff, by the spurting blood? Like, that goes over the top here, but no, there isn't any blood when the guy cuts off his arm and beats the arms owner to death with it. And then you have the absolutely nuttiest scene where Colonel Hogan gets the tables turned on him and is stripped and sent to be hunted. And then Dalton or Mike lets out that insane Tarzan yell, which, I mean, he's been doing the entire movie, but the last one...
Best way to stay hidden, by the way, that insane
like, he just goes nuts. I actually wondered after the credits rolled there, did he go feral? Did he go full Wolverine? For the next 20 years, is he just camping out in this forest that he's lost in his mind? No, I mean, this movie makes no sense, and it is great for it. So, yeah, 10.
Oh, well, luckily there's still some left. I mean, you can't even like that ending that Nick is bringing up. I mean, just to give people context to know exactly what we're talking about. He fights the lieutenant, literally chops his arm off, gets shot at from 2 feet away, and avoids the bullet somehow. Chops the arm off, beats him to death with it. He's getting revenge though, because his wife and his father-in-law are both killed now, and so what he does is he takes Hogan and he says, "Take off your shirt," and then he's like, "Take off your shoes," and then he tells him to run. And he's going to chase. He's now turned him into what he was at the beginning, and then there's this scream, this iconic scream that, like I say, hands palms up, the pose that he loves so much, and that's the way this movie goes out, and it's so wonderful. And how about the scene where he kills the guy with the twig? I mean, he just shoves it right. This thing's like a quarter of an inch thick. And I know it might have had a sharp end, but the human body is not so weak that you can just shove.
Well, it's another guy who managed to get the drop on him.
Another guy managed to get a drop on him. Speaking of which, there's the time that his buddy, then the one who's from Vietnam, that somebody gets the drop on him, shock, and then the guy, he turns around to the guy who's got the drop on him. All of a sudden, you hear gunshots. And then the guy falls down. And then it cuts back to Danton. And Danton's reaction is, gunshots. Shit, was that me? Let me check my chest. He reaches down with his bullet. There was gunshots, there was bullets. I can't tell if that was me who was shot or somebody else. Let me double check. I don't see anything. Thank God. I mean, I think bullets hit you, you would know immediately. The final part of this movie is him chasing Hogan and his gang and taking them all out now again, because I mean there's other points where he's taking them out, like at the beginning where, you know, like he sneaks up on the last person, like he jumps down from a tree, takes out the last person, makes the most noise possible, and nobody hears him. But at the end, it's like the last 15 minutes is all him taking out and his buddy a little bit, taking out all these people. So I mentioned the death count is 64, and that is significant because in this last portion, he takes out dozens and dozens of Hogan and his men. And every single time then it shows him like preparing for how he's going to take them out next time again. And every single time it comes back to Hogan and his men, it starts with 6. He always, no matter how many people kill, it's true. Every time he goes to kill a new group, it's Hogan has 6 men with him every time. So he'll kill 4, then you'll cut to him preparing his next crap, and then you come back to Hogan now with 6 men again. It is the best thing I've ever seen. I don't know that there's any one, like I say, it's just chock full of WTFs. There's no one scene or moment or character that makes one sense in context of what happens previously. So every single thing is like a short. Every single scene is like a 30-second short. That makes like no sense. But I'm only going to give it a 9.5 because I don't think it has that one WTF that or any of the WTFs that is iconic that I'll remember. It's just chock full of so many of them, but I don't think it has any like iconic WTF moments the same way as a Ninja 3. So I'm going 9.
I think you're only discounting it because it's a slow WTF. I mean, it starts at a brisk pace, but only builds. See, if you saw that end scene without the rest of the movie, you would assume it's a SNL skit.
True.
But it just, the WTF over this movie, it starts high and then just keeps going up. It's a slow boil. You're cooked and you don't even know it.
Yes, exactly. It's the fact that they create a world and still fuck your mind in that world.
It doesn't have a WTF as iconic as Ghost pulling you into the closet, you fighting off, closing the closet, and instead of running out of your house, turning around immediately, hitting some music and starting to dance. So, to me, or the V8 on the chest, I won't remember the moments as those WTFs as fondly, even though it's chock full of them and they're wonderful. So 9.5 for me.
All right, no 0.5s, so you got to call it a 9 or a 10.
There's what? There's no 0.5?
We've done 172 of these episodes. Never
9.
All right. I think cut a guy's arm off and beat him to death with it is that iconic.
Yes.
It's tough when it's tough for this category because I go last, and often all of the WTFs are used up by the time it gets to me. Luckily, That is not the case.
Not even close.
A few minutes into this, the first time that Mike is picking guys off one by one, First Blood style, he sneaks up on a guy, but this time, in fairness, Mike is heavily camouflaged. He has wrapped a vine around his neck like a lei, and around his bicep. So his camouflage as a tree is just impeccable.
It is literally a twig that he's like somehow taped to his back. So Sam McLaughlin could be a tree.
But it worked. It worked.
It worked. I mean, it was effective. The guy didn't see him coming. I mean, that's more than everyone else. I mean, maybe this is in this world, camouflage is just that good that you can like sneak up on a guy like 6 feet away from him.
Or the oiling up of the body camouflages you in this movie.
How did he get it to stick?
So we mentioned that Cameron Mitchell finds the camp, but Cameron Mitchell he's called by his daughter, Jaimy, because Cameron Mitchell plays Jamie's father.
Yep.
Or dad. So he asks around the neighborhood. Someone saw this van. So he, being a former cop, he's able to call in and have the plate number run. So luckily, someone not only noticed this van, but had the plate number.
Well,
what then happened?
Jaimy remembered.
Jaimy remembered a partial or something.
A partial, yeah, but if they remembered this and saw somebody kidnapped, why didn't they call the police?
Well, Jaimy wasn't going to call the police because she wanted to call her dad.
No, but I'm talking about the other people that he apparently got the license plate from. Wait, I'm starting to. I may unravel the plot if I keep going. Go ahead, Nick.
What must happen between that and when Cameron gets to the camp is he gets the registration for this van, and it's registered to paramilitary group 75 miles outside of LA because he goes right there. There's no intervening thing of investigation. He drives up to what looks like a parking lot. It's got like the little stoppers for where you the wheel stoppers so that you don't drive over the edge. So it's like looks like a public like a national park he's driven into, and he just goes immediately to the location, which means it's like it must just be on a mailbox.
And he doesn't get the Jeep out of the way of the road either. He doesn't pull it off. He just leaves it right in the middle. And walks away.
Now, Jack mentioned when all of the big killing all the bad guys in the third act. So he gets his weapons. He gets a whole bunch of explosives and stuff. He sets up tons of traps for them. One's like a whole punji wall that knocks someone into it. Again, the week and a half it would take to build that thing. You work out the timeline for how long he had to build an entire punji wall. He sets up 6 tripwires. And they're not, these aren't monofilament. These are not fishing line. It's just really visible twine.
Yeah.
And they hit every single one of them. These guys at no point go, hey, Jeff got hit by a tripwire. We should maybe watch where we're walking.
The lieutenant manages to avoid one, but that's it.
One guy avoids one of them. But yes, all 6 tripwires do go off. One of them is a spear that all credit to Mike to have worked this out so carefully.
Oh, God.
His physics skills are amazing.
That then flies through the air, exactly hitting the guy in the neck.
And it wobbles.
I think you're being too hard on this movie. Obviously, he was a carpenter in Vietnam.
Well, actually, that's the good question, because what the hell was he doing? Because he had to get up for work, otherwise he was gonna be late. But it's oh, I don't want to get up. Meanwhile, I mean, look at this guy. He's like the ultimate killer, but it's just he doesn't even want to get out of bed in the morning.
And then beat to death with his own arm. 10 for me as well.
I have one I don't want to leave on the table, because we talked about how he walked home. He walked home, And he gets home and he's walking through his house kind of casually, checking to see if his wife is there, stuff is there. And the tank top midriff evil woman is in his house.
Oh,
They
gosh.
talk for a few seconds, and then Troy calls. She just picks it up and goes, "It's for you." How the fuck did they know he was going there? They know I'd be there at exactly that time. That's how long it would take. How anything?
And then at the end,
My theory of that was that Hogan's just calling every 5 minutes
yeah.
for drama.
And then she's like, "Well, you were going back. You're going back." And she puts her gun down, and he immediately picks it up and shoots her. It was just like, "Oh my god, this
Like,
is
well, you'd be told to go back, so I'm safe.
yeah." Oh, I love
Oh
this
my
movie.
god. Oh.
All right. Now, all that said, it's time to tell us of what moments were memorable, Stan.
Well, I mean, I don't know how you can't think of the arm bludgeoning of a person not being completely memorable. To me, that's just enormously memorable. And the opening, I will never ever forget that opening. Like I mean, there will be moments where I might just be standing around like, ah, it's just, and I think in this case, it's just it's the acting, it's the fact that I laugh so much at all the different things. Again, it's another Cameron Mitchell speech, which is always a memorable element to anything. I mean, this is one of those movies that I know for a fact I will be able to like even just like the growl, like, "I'm gonna kill you," just that kind of thing. I like this stuff will get pulled out for sure. I might not be able to give it a 10, but I'm gonna give it an 8.
Yeah. That the last 4.5 minutes of this movie are etched on my brain. The rest of the movie, I mean, there's some crazy stuff, there's some fun stuff, but it's gonna fade. But the last 4.5 minutes, man, I'm gonna relive that for the rest of my life. I'm gonna watch it over and over again. I'm gonna show friends the last 4.5 minutes. Going, this is a real movie.
They did this.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna go with a 7.5 on this one because you've established we could do that.
I hate you.
8.
Okay.
Thanks for understanding how rounding works.
Yeah, no doubt. Other than Jack, who just wants to be an asshole.
I can't. Like it's tough because the memorable moments are those moments that are on purpose, and nothing in this movie is wonderful because it's on purpose. Like nothing is one. Like everything is because of a level of incompetence that makes it amazing. So I struggle with this, but I do think the Cameron Mitchell speech and that pose, the arms, the knees bent, arms out, palms up, flex pose that he's always doing. And the fact that every time he lands and kills somebody, before leaving, he does that pose, but moves his head left and right to see if anybody saw him. It's so incredible. I'm going to give it a 7. It has trouble overcoming the WTFs to go any higher.
I think. I think they built so much. I was genuinely surprised at the ending, despite the fact that it should be the most obvious ending. I think Cameron Mitchell, who doesn't even get a name, is the most developed character because he gets that speech. Who am I? I'm a little man who spent 27 years of his life as a cop trying to put big shots like you away. 27 years in the filth and the dirt of the streets, and there ain't no music down there.
Oh, so
freaking
good.
Amazing. And Colonel Hogan, so the first couple of kills, all Mike's got is a knife, so he grabs the guy, stabs the guy. he does that for the first couple of kills, and then Colonel Hogan says, "I know this style." Like he's just stabbing people.
Because it's my style.
I think a lot of this is going to stick with me, so I'm going all the way up to 9 on this. The final category is called crazy concept.
Well, it's crazy because it's so badly done. But unfortunately, it's not crazy because they were really taking a story that hadn't been told. I mean, the story's been told a lot, but it's just the fact that they managed to wanted to really throw a lot of Rambo in there. They wanted to throw just, so many different kinds of stories in there to make this really what I feel like is almost like the ultimate 80s B action movie in that regard. But it's not too crazy a concept. I'm only going to go a 4.
I can't even go that high. I'm going with a 3. Just, I mean, Van Damme has one. Ice-T has one. Hell, I think Fay Ray has one of these. Let's hunt man in the woods. Concept-wise, not crazy. Execution, crazy. 3.
Yeah, maybe that is the case. Is that it's not. It feels like such a crazy concept, but in reality, it's only crazy because of the level of competence of everybody making the movie. And yet, I can't get over how crazy a concept this came across to me. So I'm going much higher than you guys and going with an 8.
Yeah, I think so much of this film revolves around them randomly picking a guy off the street who happens to be the best guy that the colonel ever trained. Like, it's not like they picked the wrong guy. Like, they picked literally the right guy.
Yeah,
like, out of
the perfect
a city
guy.
of 8 million people, they picked the exact guy they should not have picked. So it's not like he had a skill set. He's like exactly that guy. I think that's what sets it apart for me as a crazy concept. So I put a 7 for this. Right, that brings it. Anyone want to change any scores before?
I'll go to a 5 on crazy concept.
You go for a 5, okay. Anyone else?
I'm going to lower mine to 2.5.
All right, so I'll round that to a 3. And all right, in every season we have 6 secret modifiers. This film does have one. David Pryor was not only the director, he is the writer, so it gets an extra point for that. Which brings us to a very impressive 84 out of 100, which puts it top 5.
Ooh, it's not number 1?
Still a couple short of number 1.
How much is number 1 in Ninja 3?
87.5.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't realize it scored that high. Of course, it's awesome.
So that brings it right between Flesh Gordon and Wolf Guy.
Oh, well, you know what? When I think about the films that that are defining this show, Wolf Guy, Flesh Gordon, Ninja 3 are pretty much, this is why we're doing the podcast. This is awesome.
Yeah, a smidge more in the concept and it
Yes.
might have tipped over.
Yeah, I think
that
so.
was that's if its high concept had been had been just a bit higher. But all right, an impressive score though.
For sure, it was worth watching. It's just so fantastic. Yeah,
we ever get together all together, this is one I'd watch like 3 times over and over again with you guys.
I mean, this is totally the reason we're doing this podcast. Finally getting a chance to see this movie, which I didn't even know about, and it was great to watch. And so, speaking of moving on to a movie that I had never seen before, Cyborg Cop. So this one's Sam Furstenberg coming back to see if he can overtake his place on the Octagon, but. We'll see. This is the 3rd movie from Sam Furstenberg we've watched, so that's pretty amazing. I think that must be a record at this point.
What are the other 2?
Break-In 2, Electric Boogaloo, and American Ninja.
Oh yeah, that's
it was Ninja 3.
Yeah, I believe it was Ninja 3.
And American Ninja.
Okay, so
Ninja 3, The Domination, Break-In 2, Electric Boogaloo, and American Ninja were all directed by him in that order.
Okay, well, so he's got 4. He's definitely
This is his 4th. Yes,
that is amazing.
I think we can all agree he's heading right to the Saints of Boogaloo.
he's gonna get there. Okay, we've been at this too long. Jim, tell the folks where to find us.
All right. For Facebook and Twitter and to find the Octagon, visit our podcast sponsors, We Talk Podcasts and WeTalkPodcast.com. And you can find us on Instagram at Kung Fu Electric Boogaloo, and also subscribe to the show on YouTube or on your favorite podcast app, or preferably both. And rate us. Give us a review, please.
Yeah. We like reviews. It's almost like what we
give
do.
us reviews. Tell us movies that we should do. Give your opinions on the movies we have done. Blah 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 blah.
Thanks,
Mostly
Jack.
the blah blah.
Yeah. Coming up with the blah blah blah. All right. Next episode of season 8, Simply the BS, continues with Cyborg Cop. And we get to choose what kind of season we're going to be doing for season 9. So it's going to be crazy. But we're always crazy. So, for Jim, for Jack, and for Nick, I am your host, 8th Dan Stanadu. And thanks for listening to the Kung Fu Electric Boogaloo.
They're gonna kill me! Don't kill me! Please! Don't do it! Please! No!
Here are the recruits.
Damn it! We got a bunch of damn Girl Scouts out there.
Michael, come on. It's almost 8 o'clock and you're going to be late for work.
Thanks a lot.
What are you doing here, Michaelson?
I'm a businessman, Hogan, not a fool.
Don't threaten me, Michaelson.
You're gonna die. Where are we?
75 miles southeast of Los Angeles.
What the hell's going on here?
Mercenary training.
What? Who is this crap? What's his name?
My name's Hogan.
John Hogan?
Colonel, they've got my weapons.
Suck this.
They're dead! They're all dead!
What the hell are you talking about?
Man, they're all dead! The runners killed them all!
What? I don't believe it.
It's true, every damn one of them!
I want this son of a bitch dead.
You did.
Danton? Mike Danton. It's gotta be.
Why? You know him?
Know him. I trained him.
Jack Cooper. Danton? Mike Danton? I'll be damned. I haven't seen you since the time you took a bullet trying to save my life.
Suck this.
A colonel talking to you, mister.
Kiss my ass, bitch. Fuck you. How does a man go from being being the highest decorated officer in the Special Forces to becoming some goddamn blood-sucking mercenary. How many innocent people have you drug off the streets and killed playing your little games?
Does it matter?
Does to me.
What is this? Who are you?
Who am I? A little man who spent 27 years of his life as a cop trying to put big shots like you away. 27 years in the filth and the dirt of the street, and there ain't no music down there. You watch the people in the streets, killing, raping each other, pumping dope through their veins, while big men like you sit in the fancy penthouses and at the poor slobs rot in hell. I know about you. As long as it puts money in your pocket. Today, the nobodies who made you rich are gonna win. Die, you son of a bitch. You're a liar.
Bastard was the best goddamn soldier I ever had under my command. You made me the best. Well, I still am. Let's kick some ass.
What the hell was that? It's my calling card.
You fucked up.
No!
Your shirt. Take it off.
Ah!